You know, Katie, I've always struggled with knowing what these words were for wine slang.
Okay.
I hear it, kind of understand it, but I don't want to pull out Google in front of everybody. Because everyone's like nodding and sipping and they're just conversing about it and I'm a little confused. So now that I have you here, I'm gonna quiz you, no pressure.
Okay.
With my trusty iPad.
Okay.
I've got some
I'm
words
ready.
that I've struggled with before. So help me out here, okay?
Okay.
All right, here we go. The fruit level.
The fruit level has to do with a more savory wine or a more fruit-forward wine.
Okay.
So fruit-forward wines are going to be your Sauvignon Blancs, your Pinot Noirs, your Pinot Grigios. You can really taste the fruit when it first comes out. It's like a pop of flavor. And a lot of people get that confused with sweetness. It just has to do with the fruit. It can be a dry wine with a lot of fruit on it. So that's what fruit-forward means.
Another one that I've always struggled with a little bit is the sweetness level.
Okay, so this is a little bit different because that has to do with the residual sugar of the wine. You're generally going to hear people talking about it with Riesling because that is a wine with a lot of residual sugar on it. Another very sweet wine is Moscato that also has a residual sugar.
Okay, yes.
And Cavit has a Moscato that has frizzante in it, which is actually means that it has tiny, tiny bubbles. Makes it a little more refreshing and it cuts through the sweetness really well. So not all Moscato is like that, but some of it is. This one is. And it just makes it an easier drinking sweet wine.
So there's no need for me to feel a little disappointed if there's no bubble in my Moscato.
No reason to.
Okay, all right.
Still be great.
Good to know.
You can add some club soda if you'd like.
Can you?
Yeah, spritzer.
I like you, Katie. Now, this is one that always confuses me a lot, and that's the style.
Okay, most often when people are talking about style of wine, they're talking about it either being an earthy wine or being a really polished wine.
Okay.
An earthy wine is going to be a very terroir-driven wine, which means of the earth, and something like a Rioja is a very earthy wine. You should definitely try it if you're out. If you ever see it out, it's a fantastic wine. Then you also have a more polished wine, which is going to be usually a more fruit-forward wine. Okay. So that's going to end with a bit of a smoother, more velvety finish and something that that doesn't really necessarily have the depth of an earthy wine.
Wow, you know your stuff, girl. Now, tell me about the acidity, because that's something that I think is really important to understand.
Definitely. Well, and it's really important for a wine. The acid of a wine is really important to the flavor of it. So you can have kind of a flabby acidity, or you can have something that's more racy or bright. Okay. And you can feel that as well in your mouth. There are a lot of these things that you won't really be technically able to define, but you can feel it. So a racy acidity, actually you can feel on the sides of your tongue, kind of like when you eat something really sour, where you feel that. And the acidity helps to cut through a lot of things. So it can cut through a lot of tannins if there are too much tannin on a wine. It also helps to cut through sweetness in a wine like a Riesling, so it balances out that wine.
And the last one we're gonna go over is the oak.
The oak.
Yes.
The oak on a wine can be either a neutral oak or it can be a smoky oak.
Okay.
Most wines that are oaked are going to be your Cabernet Sauvignon. There's going to be the Merlot that's oaked. So that's usually what it adds. It's going to add the sweetness that you could say the same thing of a bourbon or a whiskey. So it's going to add a roundness to it.
When you said bourbon or whiskey, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
You know, Katie, that was such a great explanation and a breakdown of wine slang.
Good. Did I help you?
You
I hope.
helped tremendously.
Excellent.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.